Okay, hello everyone. It is Tuesday at 2, and we are doing Thriving Live here with Gabrielle. And wow, I wasn't sure I'd be able to make it here today. It's been a very intense couple of days. So getting grounded and getting into the space of really being present is even more important to me today. And maybe you can relate if ever you've had situations where your own flow has been, completely thrown off course, or you find yourself in a position that you definitely did not imagine you would find yourself in. So I can feel a lot of energy coursing through my veins, through my system. And one of the things few of the things I routinely rely upon, as well as share with my clients and any groups that I'm supporting, is how to kind of down-regulate our system when it's really kind of jacked up and in an adrenaline state, when anxiety or other feelings are just kind of taking hold and trying to run the show. So I rely on changing mindset and doing some mindset work. I bring in pleasure, even if I can make myself feel 1% better. And I will often run sort of an emotional regulation practice for myself or for others if they're in need. So Thriving Live, I started a couple of months ago now in February as a space to share sort of the wins and insights and learnings that I've had on my path from going from just barely surviving, life, emotions, relationships, financial distressing situations, all kinds of things, and moving from that space of being there what felt like all the time on a daily basis to this space of feeling like surviving. I'm sorry, not surviving today. Actually, I'm kind of in that spot. So we still have, life always has these ebbs and flows, ups and downs, whatever you want to call them, good days, bad days, all those things. In general, though, I feel like my life is more about thriving now than about the daily survival, surviving just barely. So I celebrate that. I celebrate that my life is more about being in the space of thriving and moving in the direction that I dream of moving into, and being all that I wish to be and having all that I need. And that for me is what thriving feels like and looks like. And I'd be very curious to hear what thriving looks like for you, for anyone listening, for anybody watching. You might be watching this sometime years from now, and I'd still be interested in hearing in the comments in YouTube land. What does thriving look like to you? Other people might call it success. What does success look like to you? For me, I am looking more at the overall holistic aspect of thriving. So for my body to feel like it's thriving, for my life, my emotional life, my relationships, my creative life, my studio life, my relationships with my assistants and with galleries and museums and organizers and all the things. Like, how does that all get to thrive? What does it look like when it's thriving? What does it feel like when it's thriving? what do I need in order to feel resourced enough to be in a place of thriving as opposed to just getting by. I spent a lot of time just getting by. And if that describes you too, I would love to hear that. I feel you. I see you. I'll see you in the comments if you put something in there, even if I can't see you in real life right now in this space. So typically, I start these sessions with a little pleasure first activity or practice. And if you've watched the show at other times, you'll know that that can take all different forms. It could be dancing. It could be just really deep, slow breathing. It could just be very light touches, just to sort of like get grounded and notice what I'm noticing inside my mind and my body and on the outside of my body and in the environment that I'm in. So today, actually, I think that's where I'll go with this, another simple practice. Again, learned this one from my friend Emily Fletcher of Ziva Meditation. Check her out. She also has Ziva Meditation. You can also find it on YouTube. Such a lovely, lovely, beautiful person. And like Emily and her followers, I also want my followers to be as resourced as possible, to know that it is possible to move from just barely getting by, just barely surviving the day-to-day grind, the situations, the emotional upset, all the things. It's possible to get beyond that. It's possible to learn to experience, to eventually experience security and safety in your body, in yourself, and in your life. It is possible. I promise you it's possible. We need to take an active part in finding the way there. And there's so many resources online for free to help get us there. I've definitely relied on tons of free material online when I started trying to move out of this space of just constantly feeling like I am in the muck all the time. And now I am not feeling like I'm in the muck all the time. It's kind of more of a surprise when I do find myself there again. And how awesome to also notice that when I'm in the muck again, it takes, like, I'm noticing, oh, how am I responding differently? How are things showing up in my life differently compared to other times when I felt that way? Other times when I felt so overloaded and so overwhelmed by it that I couldn't even imagine moving forward from it. I don't know if you know what I mean, but if you've been there, you probably know what I mean. So there are lots of free resources. There are lots of free techniques we can do ourselves. We don't have to find always a talk therapist. If you haven't found one yet, you might sometimes feel hopeless, like, oh, if I can't get these pieces in place, then I'll never be well, or I'll never learn how to manage these things. It's possible to learn those things without, finding the right therapist that can get you through there. I love therapists, so if you can find one that you can relate to, please, please, please have a therapist on your side to help you through the toughest times. And these other things that I'm referring to can complement the work you do with a therapist or on your own if you're beyond that stage and you want to just explore things to strengthen your sense of stability, your sense of security, your sense of trust in yourself and trust in the world. I'm happy to share what I know with that as well. So like I said, this grounding practice today is one that I've used in several of the episodes recently because it's fairly short and it's very effective. Okay, so we'll start with, just going to switch this down a bit. So just getting solid in your feet or feeling your seat supported by the chair. Just allow yourself to take some deep breaths and slow down. Inhale to a count of 4. And exhale to a count of 6. Inhale to a count of 4. Exhale to a count of 6. Inhale again. Those longer exhales help tell your body that you're safe and not in fight or flight mode. That you're not being chased by a lion, or that the rug is not at this very singular moment being pulled out from in under you. Long, slow exhales remind the body that you're okay, that you are safe in this moment. And taking it a little further, if you feel comfortable closing your eyes for a couple minutes, I invite you to do so. And just notice what you're hearing in the space around you. Of course, you're hearing my voice. You might be hearing your breath. You might hear some traffic or some talking in the other room. Just noticing what you're noticing. Not needing to figure it out or fixate on it or stop it. Seeing if you can find the quietest sounds that are the closest to you in the space that you're in. And then noticing what you feel. Noticing where your body is touching another part of your body, or the floor or the seat. Noticing the temperature of your skin, or the air on your skin, or the space between where one part hits the other. Just becoming aware of a number of different sensations that you're able to feel and identify and accept and acknowledge and just let it be there. Having to do with the sensations that you're feeling in your body or on your body. And then knowing, even with our eyes closed, noticing what our eyes are able to see or pick up behind our closed eyelids, or if you have them open, what your gaze may be falling upon or resting upon. And just letting it be in your awareness, what's there, without any kind of judgment or desire to change it. Notice if there's a scent that you're able to pick up in the air. Again, just noticing if there is anything, and if there's nothing, that's okay too. And with your final sense of taste of the 5 senses, if there's any taste or flavor that you're able to pick up or become aware of in your mouth. As there are 5 5 senses, becoming aware of what we can become aware of when we quiet down, settle our minds, settle our bodies. And accepting what's here. So while we've slowed down, I now invite you to see if you can sense any sense of pleasure, any good feeling or sensation you're able to find in your body anywhere. It could even be the tiniest thing like your eyelashes touching your skin, or the warmth of the breath of your exhale across your lips or through your nostrils, or some other sensation that feels good, feels pleasant. Letting your attention rest on that. And imagine it growing like a light, like a balloon, with your inhales, your exhales, just expanding. A little more into the space around where it was initially. Allowing it to fill, if you're able to, your whole body, or whole part of your body. And even if you're not able to increase the sense of pleasure, to expand it, letting it be exactly where it is and acknowledging it. And just seeing it there. You might say, I see you. Thank you. I love you. You can also ask it, what would it like, if there's anything it would like in order to expand? What can you do to feed this little piece of pleasure, this little location of feel-good energy or sensation in your body? What can you give it to feed it more? Give you another 1% of pleasure. Accept the first thing that it says. It might give you an image, it might give you another body sensation, you might get a sentence or a phrase or a word, an image. Just accept what comes in. And thank it for sharing that with you. Maybe making a mental note or jotting it down on a piece of paper to remember to do. You can call it up again later. Re-access that space of pleasure, that tiny sensation of pleasure or a new sensation of pleasure in your body. Asking it what you could give it to feed it. So you could experience 1% more pleasure. So you could feel 1% better. I made a post recently on, I don't know, Instagram or Facebook or somewhere about some of the go-to feel-good things I have learned to do for myself, which I have also probably mentioned here a few times. And I said earlier today, it's like, I can dance, I can put on some music, I can sing, I can rest, I can pick up a book. I can make myself a cup of tea. I can go for a walk. I can take a nap. I can journal. You know, there's so many things. I can pick up an instrument and play. I could give myself hugs or sensations that feel good and help me feel safe and held and secure. And learning how to provide those things for myself are really a gigantic part of going from surviving to thriving. That's a whole part of the journey. Getting out of crisis mode after crisis after crisis after crisis, and moving into finding bits of security and stability, and more security and stability and safety, and becoming acquainted with what that feels like, even in the smallest doses. In the beginning, they were so small and fleeting, but just knowing that I could experience it was really gigantic, so helpful, so encouraging too. So that was our pleasure. First, I always like to start with some kind of grounding or pleasure practice that helps us really get here, helps me arrive, helps me be more present to what's here right now, instead of all the stuff that came in with me when I came up the stairs and turned on the computer and started, got ready for the show. So thank you for joining me with that. If you did, and or later, if you're watching this, I hope that was helpful for you. I'd love to hear what you think, what you're experiencing from going through these practices. The show is intended to come on to share these stories, as well as to share the practices that I mentioned that I'm using that have helped me. It's also a space for direct coaching, like a little mini coaching session for when people have something that they want to work out, or at least not feel so charged up by. And it's very powerful and very helpful. And you're welcome to come on and do that at any time on one of these calls. And if you're just new to it, you can register for the Zoom link at bit.ly/thriving live, all one word, bit.ly/thriving live, all one word. And that will give you the Zoom link for these recordings, for these live sessions. And you could be in the space with me, instead of on YouTube live. Even though it's live, I can't see anyone on YouTube. But if you're in the Zoom room, I'd be able to see you. And that would be fantastic. Let's see, what else did I want to share with you? I think, I'm just feeling into like, what do I want to share? What is here that's feeling very alive? Well, as I mentioned, I came in from a pretty intense few days, especially the last 24 hours or more than that. And has to do with people in crisis, very severe crisis, and helping move us all through the process of getting the help that was needed, and remaining calm and clear-headed. All of those things which can be extremely challenging when we're in crisis mode. And it makes me appreciate these practices all the more so, because we can remember to just take a moment to rest and to breathe, even if it's just for 60 seconds. That can make the biggest difference. So I'm just presencing that was there, and that's what preceded coming into today's session. And I think that things are moving in the right direction, and the people involved are getting the help that they needed and that they need, and that we will all come out okay in the end, or even better. I think even better. And yeah, life. You know, we can do these things that can help us have less instability in our lives, but we can't eliminate all surprises and all instability and all, you know, tragedies or crises that come up. So since we can't control any of that, what we can control is how we respond to it, how we let it impact us. You know, in the past, in these situations, I have been so overwhelmed that I couldn't even talk to anyone. I couldn't do anything but just get into bed and stay there for, 24 hours or 3 days or whatever. And now it's different. Now I have tools that can help me regulate my emotions and the overwhelm, and to calm myself in order to make the phone calls or bring in the people that are here to support me and support the other people that were involved in the situation. So it's possible. I'm just saying, like, that's sort of what there is. That's what's there for us, all of us. Since we can't control what happens in the world, we can only control how it impacts us emotionally. And one of my mentors says, and without the context, it's really hard to understand this statement. He says, emotional suffering is optional. And without the context of what that means, that can sound really harsh. But as I've been mentioning and talking about the show and all the other shows, is like, how do we integrate? How do we regulate the emotional impact of events in our lives? Right. So that's the real training. That's the part that I found the most crucial. How do we think about the things that are happening? What's the story we tell ourselves? What's the story we tell the world about the things that happen? Are we telling the story of coming from a place of being a victim to everything that's happening all the time? Or are we able to see when we could look at it differently, or how we can reframe it, not in an untrue way, but in a way that's more empowering for us, for ourselves. And again, like, without proper context, that's really that can be sticky territory. So I would like to save that for another day when I have greater capacity to go into it, and maybe even have a dialogue with another person with it, because that could make it go more smoothly, more fully for you. What else do I want to share with you? This is the month of May, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And yeah, we're dealing with a lot of mental health situations in the world, all over the place, but also in my personal life. And being able to be sensitive to people who have a lot going on in their lives, maybe they don't talk about having members of their family who are in emotional crisis or have a mental health struggle with depression or anxiety or suicide ideation and things like that. And to just remember that there is a lot going on for people and that it's really about being compassionate and finding ways to be sensitive and safe and compassionate, taking care of yourself, taking care of the other people around you, and being as loving and kind and open as possible in the safest possible way, And when things come up that are out of our control, as I said before, finding the ways to like calm our systems down so we don't take it out on someone else. We don't do something irrational in our own reaction to what was happening in the story, in the crisis, in the situation. Then we all have a better outcome when we can respond rather than react, and when we can come from a place of more compassion and love and patience and understanding. So I want to also say how grateful I am to my team, which definitely I have amazing assistants that work with me in the studio, and they are taking the lead on a situation on a presentation for me. And I am so thrilled that they have the capacity to do so that I can tend to this crisis that's happening, and that we are all able to raise each other higher, to like know who has the capacity to step in when, and who can take the lead, or, take the spot when someone needs to step out and take care of themselves. And so I really celebrate that as one of the greatest examples of thriving here in the studio. I'm so grateful to my team, Sophia and Eleanor and Caitlin. They are doing amazing work. And we're doing very exciting projects. So I think that's going to be it for today. You can find me on Instagram, either as Gabrielle Senza Studio, or you can go to More Pleasure, Please on Instagram. And you can book a discovery call by going to calendly.com/make-change, all one word. You can register for these live in session Thriving Live calls by going to bit.ly/Thriving Live, all one word. And yeah, reach out. We are here for you. We're here to support you. We're here to teach you. I'm here to teach you what I know, what's worked for me, to help me move from, again, place of constant crisis, just barely surviving, to being in a place where I'm thriving. And the studio is moving lots of projects forward, and I am able to fulfill my dreams of supporting other creative activists in the world and helping other people heal and grow and feel safer and more empowered in their own lives. Like, that just gives me so much joy and pleasure, and it's such a great honor. So I am going to say goodbye for today. If you were on, I would have asked for wins, insights, and learnings from you in the chat, but we're not doing the chat today. So if you'd like to, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and drop them in there in the comment section. And come back and see us next week on Thriving Live, Tuesdays at 2, and we will, come play with us. It'll be fun. I am so appreciative of you and all that you're doing for yourself and for the world. And I look forward to meeting you in person someday, I hope. That would be a wonderful honor. I send you all my best. Ciao.